Welcome to the Elselah Books podcast. Today, we are diving into an absolutely incredible story, the story of the Peace Child. It's a tale that really challenges everything you think you know about communication. We're talking about a remote tribe in Indonesia that actually celebrated betrayal, a missionary who had what seemed like an impossible message to share, and, get this, a single, hidden cultural key that just unlocked everything. So let's set the scene. We're in the mid-20th century, with the Sawi tribe in what we now call Indonesian New Guinea. And their culture had this shocking core value. They didn't just put up with treachery, they celebrated it. It was their highest ideal. Think about that for a second. Their heroes, the people they told stories about, were the ones who could befriend someone, earn their total trust, and then, at just the right moment, betray them, kill them, and sometimes even eat them. It's just wild. Okay, so into this world steps a Canadian missionary, Don Richardson, and his wife, Carol. And you can imagine this presents them with a challenge that seems, completely impossible. I mean, when they arrived to live with the Sawi, it wasn't just about learning a new language. They were up against a massive fundamental conflict of values. The big question was, how could their message of trust and faith possibly take root in a place like this? All right, so this brings us to the first major hurdle. The betrayer as hero. You've got this impossible communication barrier. After a ton of hard work, Don finally learns the Sawi language, and he starts to share his message. But right away, he runs into this wall, this disconnect so deep it was almost hard to believe. The stories he was telling, they were not landing the way he thought they would. Not at all. And here's where it gets really mind-bending. The Sawi's reaction to the stories from the Gospels was just stunning. When Don told them the story of Jesus and his disciples, you know who they admired? Not Jesus. They cheered for Judas. For them, Judas was the hero of the story, hands down. He was this master of deception who perfectly represented their highest ideal, tricking a friend and then betraying him. It was the complete opposite of what Don expected. So you can see this massive cultural gap just left Richardson completely stumped. He was at a total loss. His message, which was all about faith and redemption, was being heard as a story that celebrated betrayal. It put him right back at square one, asking himself this crucial question. With a worldview so totally opposite to mine, how can they ever understand what I'm trying to say? And then, things got even worse. A crisis erupted that would actually end up revealing the key to everything. A huge, fierce battle broke out between different Sawi groups, and it just went on and on for months. The constant violence, it pushed the Richardsons right to their breaking point. They seriously thought about packing up and leaving for good. So the Richardsons basically gave them an ultimatum. Either you guys make peace or we're out of here. And the idea of losing the Richardsons and, their access to things like modern medicine and tools, that was a big deal. So the warring tribes pretty reluctantly agreed to find a way to make peace. And to do that, they turned to their most sacred, their most binding tradition. And this is where we see the one single exception to their ideal of treachery. It was called the Peace Child ceremony. Here's how it worked. A chief from one tribe would actually give his own baby son to the opposing chief. That little boy, the Peace Child, would then be raised by the former enemy tribe. And as long as that child was alive, the peace between those tribes was absolutely guaranteed. It was an unbreakable covenant. Breaking that promise was the one thing that was completely unthinkable in their culture. So as Don Richardson is watching this incredibly powerful, emotional ceremony play out, it's like a light bulb just goes off in his head. He suddenly realizes he's not just watching them make a truce. No, he's witnessing the actual key, the one thing that could finally bridge this massive cultural and spiritual divide he'd been struggling with. He actually came up with a name for this later on, a redemptive analogy. And what that means is basically this. It's the idea that inside any culture, no matter how different it seems, there's often some kind of pre-existing story or concept or value that can act like a perfect bridge. It lets you explain a brand new idea in a way that just clicks, in a way that really resonates with people on a deep level. So now, Don had his bridge. He could completely reframe his message. He went back to the Sawi and explained that God had made peace with all of humanity by giving his son Jesus as the ultimate peace child. And just like that, everything clicked. The story made sense. This wasn't about a weak man getting betrayed by a clever hero anymore. No, this was a story of the greatest, most powerful peace offering the Sawi could ever possibly imagine.
And the result of this breakthrough? It was immediate and it was profound. We're talking about a transformed legacy, a lasting impact on the Sawi. This new understanding, because it was framed in a way they already understood through their own culture, it led to this incredible wave of conversions. It completely transformed the Sawi way of life.
I mean, the changes were just unbelievable. That constant cycle of retaliatory murders, it just ended. All those deep-seated intertribal hatreds started to break down. For the first time, people from different tribes could actually meet peacefully. And get this, with the violence gone, the average lifespan shot up dramatically. Visitors who came back decades later were finding people living into their 70s, which was something that was totally unheard of before. And this transformation didn't just stop with the Sawi. The effect kind of rippled outward. The story of what happened was so powerful that it actually inspired 5 of the surrounding tribes to also give up their old violent ways and look for a new way to live. So this whole story leaves us with a really powerful final thought, doesn't it? What hidden keys to understanding exist within other cultures? The story of the Peace Child is such an amazing lesson in communication. It really reminds us that bridging even the widest, most impossible-seeming divides, well, it often just comes down to finding that one shared point of reference, that one Peace Child or redemptive analogy that can unlock a whole new way of seeing things. It really makes you wonder what other keys are out there, just hidden in plain sight. Thank you so much for listening. I highly recommend you try to get this book, Peace Child, and read it for yourself. It's an incredible story. And of course, do subscribe to our channel for more. Be blessed.